Hey everybody. At the end of our regional meeting on Thursday, one of the women who had attended my session stopped and told me how much she enjoyed it and thanked me for it. And then she said, "When did you first start being a storyteller?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't have a firm memory about that. I think that as the daughter of a pastor, I heard stories my whole life. And as a member of a pretty talkative family, I think we all tell stories. I think we, in a sense, compete in a friendly way for the floor when we're all together. I remember about 10 years ago when my nieces and my cousin's kids were in their mid-teens, and we would have a family birthday party, and we would end up with all of the old folks my age and older telling stories. And the kids had gotten to the point where instead of going to another room and doing kid things, they would stay and listen to our stories. And I remember thinking, how cool is that they want to hear our stories, and that they've even gotten to the point where they have favorite ones and they ask us to tell them. Having said all of that, I know that I started telling stories in my classroom from the very beginning, and that my story about my brother's proposal, I first told in a methods class at the University of Idaho in probably the spring of 1986. And I have sometimes said that that story was the foundation of my whole teaching career. But as I said in my session the other day, I don't think I really stopped feeling guilty about telling stories until after my Taylor Molly story came to me and became a part of my life. And it's sort of funny because I know that in some crowds I get teased, which is fine. I'm fine with it. But I get teased about my Taylor Molly story. But it still brings me such joy to tell it. One thing that I was thinking about in reflection about my session on Thursday is that, and I talked to Jackie about this, how I feel like I have a storytelling persona. And I don't mean that it's not authentic or that it's an act, but it does feel like a performance part of Lori, that it's me putting on my storytelling persona. And I like that. It feels like me on steroids. It feels like a version of me that I like. And I first felt that probably about the 10th year of teaching. One day when I was telling my brother's story about his proposal, and it ends with me reciting from memory the sonnet that he used. And I did not know that I had it memorized. I had up until then always just read it, but read it with feeling at the end. And this time I started to say it without it in my hand and realized I knew it. And there was something about saying it from memory that allowed me to put that poem on in a way that felt, I don't know any other word for it really except magic or maybe miraculous. I felt there was a true sense of the atmosphere changing in the room. And I think that's when I first began to say, man, that was cool. And the kids remember it, and it had some effect. But it wasn't for another 15 years that I began to say, I can do this on purpose, and I can do it. It can be in my lesson plan. I can know how long it's going to take, and I can do it multiple days of the year. That is one of my favorite revelations of my life. The other one comes from Thursday when I presented, and it is the realization that I can teach other people how to do it. Not just maybe inspire them to do it, but actually begin to teach them how to do it. And I can also give them permission to do what they were already doing. I'm so grateful for this opportunity and for all the opportunities that Idaho Corps gives me. Thanks for listening, guys.